There comes a moment in life when the people who laughed the loudest at you suddenly become the quietest people in the room. There comes a season when those who spent their time whispering your name behind closed doors are forced to face the consequences of every careless word they released into the atmosphere. If you are hearing this today, I want you to understand something with all your heart. What is happening around you is not an accident. Some people believed they could damage your reputation without ever damaging their own. They thought gossip was entertainment. They thought lies would become truth if enough people repeated them. They thought your silence was weakness. But what they never realized is that when God places his hand on someone's life, every false story eventually collapses under the weight of truth. I know some of you have cried in silence. I know you have questioned why people judged you without knowing your heart. I know you wondered why those who smiled in your face suddenly became strangers when you turned your back. But hear me carefully today. God was never ignoring your pain. He was collecting every word, every insult, every betrayal, and every moment they tried to pull you down. While they were busy talking about you, heaven was busy preparing justice for you. You didn't have to defend yourself because God had already decided to become your defender. That's why I need you to stop looking for revenge. Stop wasting your energy trying to prove yourself to people who already decided not to understand you. Their opinion cannot cancel God's purpose. Their gossip cannot erase your calling. Their criticism cannot block the blessings that have already been assigned to your life. Some of you are watching people change around you, and you're wondering why. Let me tell you exactly why. The same group that mocked your dreams is now confused because your life continues to move forward. The same people who expected you to fail are watching doors open that no human being could have opened. They cannot explain your peace because they expected you to break. They cannot understand your joy because they thought their words would destroy your confidence. But when God strengthens a chosen person, no amount of gossip can stop what heaven has already approved. Do you know what gossip really reveals? It reveals insecurity. It reveals fear. It reveals people who are uncomfortable with someone carrying light they don't possess themselves. Strong people don't waste time tearing others down. Secure people celebrate other people's victories. But insecure people create stories because they cannot create success. They spread rumors because they cannot spread inspiration. They attack character because they cannot compete with purpose. And here's the beautiful part. You don't have to expose them. Life has a way of revealing every hidden intention. Truth has a voice that eventually becomes louder than every lie. That's why you must remain focused. Don't allow temporary opinions to distract you from an eternal assignment. Every minute you spend worrying about what they said is a minute stolen from the future God is preparing for you. Keep walking, keep praying, keep growing, keep believing. Your consistency is speaking louder than their conversations ever could. Now I want you to hear this with every ounce of faith inside you. There is no mercy in the law of sowing and reaping. Whatever people plant, they eventually harvest. Those who planted encouragement receive encouragement. Those who planted kindness receive kindness. But those who planted gossip are now facing the fruit of their own words. Notice something. You didn't have to curse them. You didn't have to fight them. You didn't have to gather people against them the way they gathered people against you. God simply allowed them to experience the very atmosphere they created. Suddenly they are wondering why people don't trust them anymore. Suddenly they are asking why relationships are falling apart. Suddenly they are confused because the same judgment they released has returned to their own doorstep. This isn't about celebrating anyone's downfall. This is about recognizing that truth always wins. God is reminding every chosen person listening today that integrity may seem slow, but it never loses. Character may not receive applause immediately, but it always receives reward eventually. While others were investing in gossip, you were investing in growth. While others wasted hours discussing your life, you were quietly building your future. And now the results are impossible to ignore. That's why I want you to refuse bitterness. Don't let their mistakes become your identity. Don't become the very thing that hurt you. Stay humble, stay faithful, stay disciplined. Let your success be your response. Let your peace become your testimony. Let your kindness confuse those who expected hatred from you. As I close, I want you to remember this powerful truth. You are not defined by the conversations that happen behind your back. You are defined by the God who walks beside you. People may gossip for a season, but God promotes for a lifetime. They may laugh today, but tomorrow they will witness the very blessing they said you would never receive. Every tear you cried in private has been seen. Every prayer whispered in the darkness has been heard. Every moment you chose silence over revenge has been recorded in heaven. Don't lose heart now. You're too close to the breakthrough. You're too close to the evidence that God never abandoned you. Let them keep talking if they choose to. Every word they speak without truth only pushes you closer to the destiny prepared for you. The same God who carried David through rejection, Joseph through betrayal, and Daniel through opposition is carrying you right now. Stand taller than yesterday. Believe stronger than yesterday. Forgive deeper than yesterday. Walk with confidence, knowing that no lie is greater than God's truth, no gossip is stronger than God's promise, and no group is powerful enough to stop the purpose He has placed inside you. Keep your eyes on your calling, your heart anchored in faith, and your spirit filled with hope. The story is not ending with gossip, it is ending with victory. And when the final chapter is written, people won't remember the rumors they spread. They will remember the miracle God performed in your life, and they will know beyond every doubt that what God has blessed, no voice of gossip, no crowd of critics, and no force on earth can ever destroy. I want you to think about this for a moment. Have you ever noticed that the people who spend the most time talking about someone else rarely spend enough time improving themselves? That's because gossip is often the language of insecurity. It is the easiest weapon for people who cannot compete with your purpose, your peace, or your potential. If you're listening to me today, I believe this message is reaching you at exactly the right time, because some of you have been carrying the weight of words that were never supposed to define you. You've been wondering why certain people smiled in your face while speaking against you behind your back. You questioned why your kindness was repaid with betrayal and why your honesty became the target of criticism. But today, I want you to stop questioning your worth because of someone else's opinion. Their words were never powerful enough to rewrite the story God is writing for your life. The people who gossiped about you truly believed they were controlling the narrative. They assumed that if enough people repeated the same story, it would become the truth. They thought your reputation depended on their conversations, but what they failed to understand is that truth does not need a crowd to survive. Truth stands on its own. Lies require constant maintenance. Lies need new lies to stay alive. Gossip needs new victims every week because it can never satisfy the emptiness inside the people spreading it. That is why those who constantly gossip are never at peace. They move from one person to another, from one rumor to another, hoping that speaking about someone else's life will somehow make them forget the dissatisfaction in their own. Some of you felt deeply wounded because the gossip came from people you trusted. It wasn't strangers who hurt you the most. It was friends. It was relatives. It was co-workers. It was people who once celebrated with you, laughed with you, and claimed to support you. That kind of betrayal cuts deeper than any insult from an enemy because it comes from people who had access to your heart. You opened the door to them, only to discover they were using what they learned about you as material for conversations you were never invited into. But hear me carefully today. Betrayal may surprise you, but it never surprises God. Before you ever shed a tear, He already knew who would stay and who would walk away. Before the gossip started, He already had a plan to turn your pain into your testimony. There are moments when you wanted to defend yourself. You wanted to explain your side of the story. You wanted to expose every lie, and confront every person who believed the rumors. But somehow, something inside you told you to remain silent. At the time, that silence may have felt like weakness. It may have felt unfair because lies were spreading while you said nothing. Yet now, you can begin to see that your silence was not defeat, it was wisdom. Not every accusation deserves your response. Not every critic deserves your attention. Sometimes, the greatest demonstration of strength is trusting that God can defend your name better than you ever could. Think about the life of Joseph in the Bible. He was misunderstood, betrayed by his own brothers, falsely accused, and thrown into prison for something he did not do. Imagine how many stories were told about him. Imagine how many people assumed he must have been guilty because of where he ended up. Yet God never abandoned him. While others judged his situation, God was preparing his promotion. The prison became the pathway to the palace. What looked like rejection became divine redirection. In the same way, some of you are walking through a season where people have already decided who you are based on rumors instead of reality. But don't panic. God has never depended on public opinion to fulfill his promises. You must also understand that gossip says far more about the speaker than it does about the person being discussed. Secure people do not spend their time tearing others down. People who know their value do not feel threatened by someone else's success. They celebrate instead of criticize. They encourage instead of destroy. When someone constantly attacks your character without cause, they are revealing a battle within themselves. Their jealousy, their fear, and their insecurity become visible through the words they choose to speak. Instead of asking, "Why are they talking about me?" perhaps the better question is, what is happening inside them that makes them feel the need to do this? Understanding this doesn't excuse their behavior, but it helps you stop carrying guilt that never belonged to you. Many of you have spent sleepless nights wondering if people believed the lies. You worried that opportunities would disappear because someone damaged your reputation. You feared that your name would forever be connected to stories that were never true. But let me remind you of something powerful. If God opened a door for you, no human being can permanently close it. They may delay your progress for a season, but they cannot cancel your destiny. They may influence a few opinions, but they cannot overrule God's decision concerning your life. What heaven has approved cannot be destroyed by conversations happening behind closed doors. One of the greatest mistakes you could make is allowing bitterness to replace your peace. The enemy would love nothing more than to convince you to become exactly like the people who hurt you. He wants you to gossip back. He wants you to seek revenge. He wants your heart to become hard. But don't fall into that trap. Your victory does not come from returning evil for evil. Your victory comes from maintaining your integrity when everyone expects you to lose it. There is incredible strength in refusing to let someone else's behavior determine your character. While they were busy discussing your life, you were unknowingly growing stronger. Every painful experience was building resilience. Every betrayal was teaching you discernment. Every disappointment was drawing you closer to God. You may not have recognized it at the time, but those difficult seasons were preparing you for responsibilities you could not have handled before. Sometimes, God allows people to leave your life because they cannot accompany you into the next chapter. Sometimes, He exposes hidden intentions before He releases greater blessings. What felt like loss was actually protection. And now something remarkable is beginning to happen. The truth is quietly making its way to the surface. People are starting to notice the difference between your consistent character and the inconsistency of those who spoke against you. The lies that once seemed convincing are beginning to collapse under the weight of reality. Those who judged you too quickly are questioning what they were told. Those who doubted you are beginning to see your integrity. You didn't have to manipulate anyone. You didn't have to defend yourself every single day. Your life became the evidence. Your peace became the proof. Your consistency became the answer. So I want to encourage you today. Stop giving your attention to voices that never deserved your trust. Stop allowing gossip to occupy space in your mind. Lift your head high, not because you are proud, but because you know who walks with you. Continue to show kindness, even when others expect anger. Continue to work with excellence, even when others refuse to acknowledge your efforts. Continue to pray for wisdom instead of revenge. Continue to believe that the God who sees everything will reward faithfulness at the right time. Remember this: people may create stories, but only God creates destinies. People may speak for a moment, but God speaks for eternity. Their gossip may have been loud, but God's truth will always be louder. In the end, they will not remember the rumors they invented. They will remember how God lifted the very person they tried to bring down, proving once again that no lie can stand forever against a life that is firmly placed in His hands. There is a principle in life that no one can escape, no matter how powerful, influential, or clever they believe they are. It is the principle of sowing and reaping. Every word spoken is a seed. Every action taken is a seed. Every decision made is a seed. Whether those seeds are planted in kindness or cruelty, in truth or deception, they will eventually produce a harvest. That is why you should never be discouraged when you see people prospering while treating others unfairly. What you see today is not the final chapter. The harvest always comes after the planting, and God never forgets where every seed has been sown. If you are listening to this message today, I want you to remember that the words spoken against you have not disappeared into thin air. Heaven has heard every conversation. God has seen every hidden meeting, every whispered rumor, every attempt to damage your character, and every lie designed to make others question your worth. Nothing has escaped His attention. Many of you have asked God, why are they getting away with this? You watched people spread false stories about you while they continued smiling as if nothing had happened. You saw them gathering support, convincing others to believe their version of events, and for a moment, it felt like injustice had won. But let me remind you of something that will strengthen your heart today. Silence does not mean God is absent, and delay does not mean justice has been cancelled. God often works in ways that human eyes cannot immediately recognize. While you were waiting for Him to act publicly, He was already working privately. He was arranging circumstances. He was exposing hidden motives. He was allowing truth to rise naturally. Because when God reveals something, no one can successfully cover it again. The people who made gossip their daily habit believed they were planting seeds that would destroy your future. They thought every rumor would weaken your influence. They assumed every negative conversation would close another door in your life. But what they failed to understand is that they were actually planting seeds into their own future. Every lie became a seed. Every insult became a seed. Every act of jealousy became a seed. And now, the harvest is beginning to appear. Relationships that once seemed strong are falling apart. Trust is disappearing from their lives because people eventually realize that someone who constantly talks about others will eventually talk about them as well. Opportunities begin slipping away because character always catches up with reputation. They are discovering that the atmosphere they created for others has become the atmosphere they must now live in themselves. Notice something remarkable. You didn't have to create this outcome. You didn't have to gather people against them. You didn't have to spread stories in return. You didn't have to lower yourself to their level. God simply allowed the law of sowing and reaping to do what it has always done. This is why you must resist the temptation to celebrate their downfall. Your calling is higher than revenge. Your purpose is greater than proving someone wrong. You are not called to rejoice when people suffer. Instead, you are called to recognize the faithfulness of God, who always defends those who continue walking in integrity. Justice belongs to Him, not to us. Some of you have been carrying bitterness because you thought justice depended on your ability to fight back. But hear this clearly today. Your future does not depend on defeating your enemies. Your future depends on remaining faithful to the one who called you. The moment you stop focusing on those who attacked you and start focusing on the purpose God placed inside you, something changes within your spirit. You become lighter. You become stronger. You stop living as a victim and begin walking as someone who knows their identity. That is exactly where God wants you to be. While they spent their energy discussing your failures, whether real or imagined, you were quietly becoming the person God intended you to be. Every painful experience became a lesson. Every disappointment became a source of wisdom. Every betrayal sharpened your discernment. Every tear you cried in private became part of the strength you now carry. Looking back, you may realize that if those people had never opposed you, you might never have developed the resilience that now defines your character. Sometimes the greatest growth happens in seasons of misunderstanding. Sometimes your greatest preparation comes through your greatest pain. Remember the story of David. Before he ever wore a crown, he was criticized, rejected, and hunted by people who feared the future God had prepared for him. King Saul saw David as a threat and spent years trying to destroy him. Yet David refused to take revenge when he had the opportunity. He trusted God's timing instead of forcing his own. That decision revealed the difference between someone led by emotion and someone led by faith. David understood that if God promised him the throne, he did not need to steal it. In the same way, if God has promised you favor, success, peace, or restoration, you do not need to manipulate people to receive it. What God has prepared for you will arrive at the appointed time. Perhaps today you are still in the middle of your story. Maybe the people who hurt you have not apologized. Maybe they continue pretending they did nothing wrong. Maybe some people still believe the rumors. If that's your situation, don't lose hope. God's timing is perfect, even when it feels slow. Truth has a way of surfacing when everyone least expects it. Character has a way of revealing itself over time. Those who genuinely seek the truth will eventually recognize it. You cannot permanently hide darkness where God's light is shining. One day, the very people who underestimated you may be forced to acknowledge your growth. They may not admit they were wrong, but they will not be able to deny what God has done in your life. They will see your peace when they expected your collapse. They will witness your joy when they predicted your defeat. They will watch doors open that no human effort could unlock, and in that moment, they will realize that all their gossip accomplished nothing except revealing the condition of their own hearts. So continue planting good seeds. Plant kindness, even when others choose cruelty. Plant honesty, even when deception seems easier. Plant forgiveness, even when your emotions argue against it. Plant faith when fear surrounds you. Plant hope when disappointment tries to convince you to quit. The harvest you are waiting for is growing beneath the surface, even if you cannot see it yet. Never allow temporary injustice to convince you that righteousness has no reward. God's promises have never failed, and they will not fail you now. As you move forward, keep your eyes fixed on your calling instead of your critics. Refuse to waste another day replaying conversations that were meant to distract you from your purpose. Walk with confidence, knowing that the God who sees every hidden act also rewards every hidden act of faithfulness. The people who planted gossip are now living with the consequences of their own choices, but you are stepping into a future built on integrity, perseverance, and trust in God. Your testimony will never be that you defeated your enemies through anger or revenge. Your testimony will be that God lifted you while you remained faithful. And that is a victory no rumor can erase, no lie can overcome, and no group of critics can ever take away.